Hello students, today we are going to discuss our chapter number 4, that is continuation of insight to program execution. So as in the previous videos we have discussed about the process management. Okay, in process management we have seen about the allocation of the memory, process control block and process states. Now we are going to discuss this topic, that is how CPU executes instructions of a ready process. So you have seen about the different states of process and about how the process is executing. Here we'll be seeing about how the CPU will be executing the instructions of a ready process. That means whenever a process is ready for execution, then how the CPU will execute the instructions in the process. Okay, so let us see this topic. CPU runs the process instruction by instruction. CPU executes instruction of a process by fetching it, decoding it and then executing it. Steps involved in it are: program is loaded in main memory, control unit brings the first or next instruction of program called as fetch the instruction. Control unit now determines what type of instruction is this, called as decode the instruction. Instruction can be of any mathematical work, logical work, write to memory, etc. If the instruction involves mathematical or logical work, control unit instructs ALU to carry out or execute the instructions called as execute the instruction. ALU provides some results which are then stored in main memory called as store the result. For the next instruction in program, again steps 2 to 4 are carried out. The fetch, decode, execute cycle is known as instruction cycle. So now let us discuss in detail about how CPU is executing instructions. So here first point is CPU runs the process instruction by instruction. That means whenever a process is executed by the CPU, then it will execute the process instruction by instruction. That means if the process is having 10 to 15 instructions in it, then the CPU will execute the first instruction in the first, second instruction in the second step, third instruction in the third step, fourth instruction in the fourth step, and likewise it will be continuing until the 15th instruction. So here we can understand this by saying that CPU runs the process instruction by instruction. Okay, now CPU executes instructions of a process by fetching it, decoding it and then executing it. Now CPU executes the instruction of process. That means CPU will execute the instruction of a process by fetching, decoding and then executing. Okay, so how the CPU will execute the instruction? First it will execute instruction by instruction, and after that how it will execute the instruction? By fetching it, decoding it and then executing it. So within these 2 points our execution of a process in a CPU is done. Okay, so what are the steps involved in the execution of instruction? Number 1, program is loaded in main memory. So as we have discussed earlier, that program is first loaded into the main memory and then it is gone for the execution. Okay, so what is the first step involved in the execution? The program is loaded in main memory. Okay, the program which is to be executed, that will be loaded into the main memory. Now control unit brings first or next instruction of program called as fetch the instruction. Now here the control unit, okay, so control unit is a part of a CPU where this unit will bring the first or the next instruction. That means as we have discussed here in the first point, that is it will run the process instruction by instruction. Okay, so in the control unit what happens is control unit will bring the first or the next instruction of the program, and this is known as fetch the instruction. So here by the name itself you can understand the fetch the instruction. Fetch the instruction means it will take the instruction from the process. That means, for example, here you are having a small box, and in that box you are having water. Then you can say that fetch the water from the box. That means you are taking out water from that box. So likewise here is also same thing happening. That means the control unit is taking an instruction from the process and it is giving it to the next step. Okay, control unit brings first or next instruction of program, and this is known as fetch the instruction. Or in simple words, you can say that control unit will bring the first or next instruction. That means it will take first or next instruction from the program. Okay, control unit now determines what type of instruction is this. Now control unit now determines what type of instruction is this. That means once the instruction is being fetched, okay, now instruction has been fetched from the program, it has been brought up to the CPU. Now what control unit will do again is it will determine what type of instruction is it. The instruction has been fetched from the program. Now control unit will determine what instruction is it. That means what it has to perform. Okay, and this process is known as decode the instruction. Okay, so first what is happening, program is loaded into the main memory, and second fetching is done, third decoding the instruction. Okay, in decode what happens is the instruction which has been fetched, that instruction will be determined by the control unit about what thing has to be performed. Okay, what thing or what operation has to be performed. Okay, instruction can be of any mathematical work, logical work, write to memory, etc. So here you have seen over here, now determines what type of instruction is this. Okay, here you have seen this word instruction. This instruction can be of any type. It can be of mathematical work, it can be of logical work, write to memory, or any kind of instruction which is given to the program. Okay, so decode the instruction means it will decode the instruction about what it has to do. That means what the instruction has to perform. If the instruction involves mathematical or logical work, control unit instructs ALU to carry out or execute the instructions called as execute the instruction. Once the instruction has been fetched and decoded, then if the instruction is having mathematical or logical work, okay, once everything is done, that means till decoding the instruction has been done, and if the instruction is of mathematical or logical work, then control unit instructs ALU to carry out or execute the instructions. That means if that instruction which is being decoded is of mathematical or logical work, then control unit will tell ALU, that is arithmetic logic unit, to execute and carry out all the instructions. Okay, so this is what is done by execution unit. Okay, so what happens in execute the instruction? The instruction if is executed by the control unit, and if that instruction is of mathematical or logical work, then it is being executed by the ALU. Okay, ALU is being instructed that you have to do all this mathematical and logical work, and then you have to give the result. So that is done by ALU, and this process is known as execute the instruction. ALU provides some results which are then stored in the main memory called as store the result. So once everything is done, once fetching, decoding and execution is done, now the last step is the storing the result. That means the result which has been obtained by the execution process, after the execution process, that result is now to be stored. Okay, so what ALU provides, that is to be stored. So last step is the storing the instruction. So here ALU provides some results which are then stored in memory, called as store the result. For the next instruction in program, again steps 2 to 4 are carried out. So once the first instruction is been done, now if the second instruction is left, then from again second instruction, the fetch, decode, execute will again work. Okay, the fetch, decode, execute cycle is known as instruction cycle. Okay, so this is how the CPU executes instruction of a ready process. A ready process means the process which is being waiting for the CPU to execute. Okay, so we have seen this ready process in the states of process. So here we have seeing about how CPU is executing the instruction. So let us summarize this, how the CPU is executing instruction of a ready process. First, program is loaded in the main memory. Second, the control unit will bring the first or next instruction of a program, and it is known as fetch the instruction. Fetch the instruction means it will bring first or the next instruction of a program. Third is, now control unit has to determine about what type of instruction is it, whether it is mathematical or logical or what kind of instruction is it. So that process is known as decode the instruction. And the instruction can be of any type, for example mathematical, logical, write to memory, write to file, or anything. Okay, now next step is, if the instruction involves mathematical or logical work, control unit instructs ALU to carry out or execute the instruction. Now here in the fourth step, what happens is, if the instruction which is being decoded is in the form of mathematical or logical form, then that is forwarded to ALU. ALU is nothing but arithmetic logic unit, and then arithmetic logic unit executes all the instructions and does all the thing, and this is known as execute the instruction. Okay, so fetch, decode, execute has been done. Now ALU will give some results. Okay, once everything has been executed, then obviously there will be some result. So ALU will be providing some results which are then stored in the main memory. Okay, which are then stored in main memory, and it is called as store the result. And again, if the next instruction is there, then again step number 2, 3, 4, 5, it will execute continuously, and this fetch, decode, execute cycle is known as instruction cycle. Okay, now let us see the figure related to this. So this is the functioning of your CPU. So here you can see in the bottom here primary storage, that is the main memory. Here program is loaded. Okay, from here it is going to the fetch part. That means fetch means here the instruction that is first or the next. Okay, the first or the next is being fetched from the program. That means here you can see in this arrow, the instructions from the main memory are being fetched and going to the control unit. You can see in the picture over here, the instruction has been fetched and it is going to the control unit. Okay, when it has came to the control unit, then second step is about decode the instruction. Decode the instruction means it has to determine, that means the control unit will determine about what kind of instruction is it. That means either it is mathematical or logical, or what kind of instruction is it. Once everything has been determined, then this instruction is moving to the next unit. That means if the instruction is related to mathematical or logical, then it is going to the arithmetic logic unit. And if the instruction is not arithmetic logic, that means it is not mathematical or logical, then it will be directly going to store the result. Okay, pay attention over here. If that instruction they determined is not of mathematical logical form, then it will be directly storing the result. Okay, once if the instruction is found to be mathematical logical, then it will be going to the arithmetic logic unit. Here the arithmetic logic unit will execute all the instructions. That is your third step. Okay, if what happens in third step is all the instructions, that is mathematical or logical functions, will be executed over this ALU, that is arithmetic logic unit. Once everything is done, then that instruction will go to the store, that is the fourth step. Here in the fourth step, the instructions will be stored and that results will be directly going again to the main memory. Okay, so this is how the CPU is functioning. So let us summarize our today's topic, that is functioning of a CPU and about how CPU executes instructions of a ready process. So how the CPU processes the instructions by instruction. Okay, CPU executes instructions of a process by fetching it, decoding it, and then executing it. Now, what are the different steps involved in the execution of instructions in CPU of a ready process? First is the program will be loaded into the main memory. So here you can see the program is loaded into the main memory. This dot is not coming to the bottom box. You can see the bottom blue box. Here the program will be loaded. Okay. Control unit brings, that is first or next instruction of program, and this is called as fetch the instruction. So here you can see this instruction is brought from the main memory and it is to the control unit. Here you can see this arrow. The instruction is coming from the main memory to the control unit. Once it has been brought, then it is known as fetch. Okay, it will bring either first or the next instruction. That means first instruction means the process has been started at that time instantly. Okay, next means the process is running there and the instructions are executing one by one. At that time the next instruction is being brought up. Okay, now let us come to the next one. Control unit now determines what type of instruction is this, called as decode the instruction. Instruction can be of any mathematical work, logical work, write to memory, etc. Now here, once the instruction has been fetched, then control unit determines about what kind of instruction is this. Means the instruction can be of either mathematical form or logical form or even write to file or any other thing. Then once it has been determined, then instruction is coming to the next point, that is your fourth step. If the instruction involves mathematical or logical work, control unit instructs ALU to carry out or execute the instructions, called as execute the instruction. So here in fourth step, what happens is, if the instruction involves any mathematical or logical work, that means if this instruction is either mathematical or logical type, then it is going to the arithmetic logic unit. Once it has reached to the arithmetic logic unit, then what is the function of this ALU? The ALU functions like it will be performing all the arithmetical and logical functions given instructed as by the process. Then it will execute all these things. Okay, once everything is being executed, then it comes the fifth step, that is ALU provides some results which are then stored in the main memory, called as store the result. So here you can see, once all the instructions are being executed, once fetch, decode and execute are done, then the last step here, this store, is it will be storing the results. Okay, it will be storing the results and these results will be again stored in the main memory. Okay, so here this is a cycle. This is a cycle which will be continuing until all the instructions are being executed. Okay, once the last instruction is given, then the process is being completed. The fetch, decode, execute cycle is known as an instruction cycle. So here you can see this fetch, decode, fetch, decode, execute and store. This instruction cycle is known as an instruction cycle. This cycle will be continuously going on until and unless all the instructions are being executed successfully. Okay, I hope you all are clear about how CPU executes instructions of a ready process clearly. Understand this figure, everything is being clear over by this figure only. So in the next class we'll be discussing the rest of the topic, that is process scheduling and all. So till then, thank you.